Perfect. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, my name is Sean, and you are watching MLS Ireland Does Predictions on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. But if you're watching this on Twitch, which I would assume it's just to start, not really many people will be, but later on you could be. So hit that follow button and all that kind of jazz. Trying to get up in the rankings a bit. Doing very well now, surprisingly, on YouTube. But anyway, those things are going very well on Twitter as well, and MLS Ireland or MLS Watch and all that kind of stuff. So go over there and follow me and all that kind of jazz. So yes, welcome. It's Tuesday. I'm a bit just after football, so I'm a bit sweaty and probably a bit out of breath. So go easy on me. So I may as well let's get it going. Here's the couple of games that's going to be on tonight. There's a game on tonight. Austin against Houston, a wee Texas derby. So may as well crack onto it. As you can see, Austin are a very good team at the moment. They're second in the league, which is pretty impressive. In the last 3 times out of the last 6, they've only lost to 1, and that was against LA Galaxy, which is not a bad result. Granted, it was a 4-1, and LA Galaxy not doing very well, but at the time LA Galaxy was doing reasonably well. So saying that, I would like to see them come up do very well against the Houston team, who have only won the 1 in the last 6, and that was against the Chicago Fire team, so which wasn't entirely terribly great. Say that the word. I'm trying to see if this is. Yeah, it's not too bad. The last week was all over the shop. It was there was like a second delay, so not great. But anyway, Austin coming into this one. They are the favourites. Granted, at home they've only won the 1 in the last 4, which isn't great. Whereas Houston, similar, but have lost them as well. But saying that, you would like to see Austin probably should win this one. They are a far better team. I know Houston are more used to this Texas derby kind of stuff, but I'm going to go for like a 2-0 win to Austin on that one. The next one is Atlanta against Real Salt Lake. Like you see here, Atlanta are at home. Kind of four wins and 3 draws and 2 defeats. Only the one win in the last 4, whereas Real Salt Lake is similar, but again in a worse record. But Atlanta are 22nd and Real Salt Lake are 6th, which again, every time I do my predictions, I always kind of think, okay, Real Salt Lake should be down here somewhere, but they never really are. They're usually up here, so fair dues to them. Granted, they have a 0, which is pretty weird. Granted, I think there's one other team up around here has got, well, -1, -2. They had actually won not so long ago, but anyway. This is MLS. So, yeah, Atlanta coming up against the Real Salt Lake team. You would like to think this is going to be them at home. I'm going to go for a 1-all. Atlanta at home should be probably winning this game, but Real Salt Lake are a very good team. They're moving up the rankings a wee bit, but pretty good. So a 1-all draw on that one should be impressive for Atlanta. They're not doing great at the moment. Their defense isn't doing great at the moment, but at home they should probably get a good result in this one. But Real Salt Lake is probably a team you really shouldn't take a chance on. Chicago Fire against Toronto. Now, Toronto should have their main man playing for them. Again, they haven't won a game away from home, which is ridiculous for the talent that they should have had with the amount of money they spent. But at Toronto, you would hope to get a good result here. Chicago Fire, 3 wins, 3 draws. Pretty solid stuff for a team who are second from bottom, and Toronto, who are just a couple of spaces above them. But again, they should have their star man. I think he should be back for this game, if not next week. But I'm going to think, and all that kind of jazz, that he should be back. 2-1. A 2-1 win to Toronto. So Chicago Fire should probably get a good result in this one. I know Toronto are still very dodgy at the back. They've conceded probably the most in the whole league. So again, Chicago Fire haven't really scored that many as well at home. So I'm going to think if Insignia doesn't really play, I'm going to go for like a 1-all. But if he does start, I'm going to go for like a 2-1 win to Toronto, just for them getting getting all their jazz and all that kind of crack back. They should have a good wee run at that one. The next one is Cincinnati against Vancouver. Cincinnati, who I actually like this season, they're actually doing rather well. I'm pretty impressed against the Vancouver team who let me down last week. Thank you, Vancouver. I actually thought they were going to win, and I thought they were going to beat Minnesota, but they got stuffed by Minnesota 3-1. So thank you, Vancouver. Again, but they're coming up against a Cincinnati team who, again, draw against Red Bull, which is not bad. A draw away to New England is not bad. And a draw against New York City FC. Granted, they were 3-0 up. And then it was like 3-all at half time, which isn't great. And they beat Orlando, which is a good result. And then they drew against Philadelphia. So coming into this one, you would think Cincinnati should probably get a good result in this one. I do, as I said, I like Cincinnati. These two teams are going to be playing all on the one time tonight, tomorrow night, one of those nights. So I'm going to go for like a Cincinnati 2-1 win. They're starting to get better. They're starting to not concede as many as they used to be. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win on that one. The next one, stay with me, caller. The next one is DC United, who have now got a new manager in Wayne Rooney, who just signed, even though that we saw photos of him leaving for there yesterday and all that kind of stuff. We kind of see it all coming, and he's leaving his wife, who I would assume is looking after his son, who's playing for Manchester United's academy team. So I would suspect that's the reason why they're staying there. So I have a funny feeling he's not coming over for the long term, unless things do very well. But it doesn't really look like he's going to be there for a long time. They're coming up against Columbus Crew team, who are starting to do very well away from home. Granted, their last 3 was their only 3 wins at home, away from home. Sorry, coming against the DCC team, he was suspected going to get that new manager buzz and all that kind of stuff. They did play very well against Orlando, but then they got annihilated by Philadelphia, which wasn't a really good result for them. Not a very good result at all. And like a Columbus Crew team who are starting to now to move up. They haven't lost anything in the last 6, which is pretty impressive for the season how they started, because it was awful. But when you think about it, a draw against Philadelphia, okay, that's a good result. A win against Toronto, okay, you probably suspect that. A win against Chicago, okay, you would expect that. It's probably the draw against Real Salt Lake Charlotte, but like I said, they're coming into a bit more better. Can I say a 1-all? I do. I would like to say a 1-all. I think DC United have the capabilities of getting a good result in this one, but if it was somebody above Charlotte or Portland, I would have suspected they would have lost this one. But they're probably coming into this one against the team who are, like I said, drawing many games around them is probably, I think, a fair result. The next one is Inter against Philadelphia. Philadelphia, who broke their kind of draw and duck, if I want to say that. They're coming up. They came up third. They won their last game away from at home against Philadelphia 7-0, and their home win against New York City, who kind of broke their draw and duck. And then they got beaten by Chicago Fire, who I don't think anybody saw. I don't even think Chicago Fire even saw that. And then they drew against Columbus Crew again, another draw, but then they beat DC United. So something clicked. They must have figured out where the goal was and all that kind of stuff, and they decided to go, oh, that's where it goes. So unless DC United, actually, to be fair, were okay to the third goal, and then once the fourth goal went in, they just basically collapsed, really. So they're coming up against the Inter team, who are at home. Their home record is pretty impressive at the moment. Their away record, not so much at the moment as well. They got beaten by Orlando, which I would have suspected them to do a bit better, but they drew against Dallas, and they got beaten by Atlanta, which is not a good result. Granted, I would keep saying Inter got a player sent off at the very start of the game. So again, these all doesn't really matter if a player gets sent off, because it is MLS and a lot of players get sent off. Inter against Philly. Do you know what? I'm going to think Inter could probably get a good result in this one. Do you think a 2-0 win doesn't sound too mad? I do think Inter are probably a better team at home than Philadelphia are away. It could possibly end up as a draw. I'm pretty sure it would probably end up a draw, no more think about it. But I think Inter at home are probably getting Philadelphia on a bit of a high, where they think, they're going to stroll into this game and win And that too confident, that Man United way of thinking, we're just fantastic. We're just going to play in first gear and then the other team outworks them and beats them. That's my thinking on that one. So yeah, I think Inter would probably a good wee team to get pumped up and all kind of stuff. Probably going to be a lot of heat in that game too. So yeah, the next one is Minnesota against Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City, who are, I'm not going to say playing better, but they did win their last game against Montreal, which nobody saw, especially me, because I predicted Montreal to win. And their last away record win was against Kansas City, so they're doing a bit better away from home. They're starting to pick up those results away from home. Like you can see in the last 4, they won 2, whereas Minnesota have only won 1. That was their last home game. Granted, they won 3 in a row. So they're starting to turn things around. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Minnesota. I know Sporting Kansas City are looking a wee bit better, but Minnesota 1-3 in the trot. I think they're starting to pick up things. I know they've conceded quite a few in the last, so 5 goals, not great, but they are starting to score teams. So I think this is probably one where they're going to hold off and try to defend a bit more and push, kind of like, you know what I mean, a counter-attack or kind of stuff like that. They're just going to try to be a more defensive team and trying to beat a team 1-0, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. The next one is Nashville against Seattle. Seattle lost the last game, which is really annoying because against Portland, they should have done a hell of a lot better. Go away, fucking thing. They should have done a lot better at home. They got beaten by Portland. Granted, they got a player sent off, which I predicted, on Twitter. I basically said it's free money. Sky Bet is putting up, it was like 5-2. I put money on it and won. Because those games are always going to be a red card. And they're coming up against a Nashville team who are just above them, who got beaten by Charlotte at home. Charlotte are very good at home, so I'm not going to be too dismissive of that. They drew against Portland. So if you're going to go for Portland beats Seattle, no, Jesus, all that kind of crack. Doesn't work in MLS, to be fair. Seattle against Nashville. Nashville are very good. Good. They're not scoring as many as they should be. They're not conceding as many as you would for a team in 12th, to be fair. But it is an interesting one. They did get quite beat by Charlotte, but they're coming up against the Seattle. It's an interesting one. I wonder if anybody else. It is an interesting one. I'm going to go for. I may go for the 2-1 win to Seattle. Seattle probably was a blimp against Portland. Portland were up for it. Portland are a team that are usually up for games a lot more than other, but that's probably the reason why at least there are a lot of their downfalls, which is really annoying. Next one is Colorado against Orlando. The two teams that I get mixed up in every time I say it. So this is probably the nicest time when I get those two teams because I can't mess it up. So Colorado coming into this one, not great away from home, at home. Sorry, in the last 2 games, Orlando the same away from home. Colorado. See what I mean? Orlando. I did mess it up already. Orlando 1-0 against Inter, so that was a good result. Whereas Colorado are down here for a reason. They got beaten by Austin, they got beat by Portland, they got beaten by Nashville. They drew against New York City, which isn't a bad result, and they drew against Salt Lake. But I think that draw against the NYCFC was when Ronnie Dyer left. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1. I think Colorado at home are a good team. I think Orlando, their win against Inter is probably going to be a wee bit too much for them. So I'm going to go for like a 1-1 on that one. The next one is DC United against New York City FC. So DC United, FC Dallas. Jesus Christ, if I'm mighty. Dallas, who are starting to slip up a wee bit. Like it's been a while since they won a game. They're granted a 2-2 against Houston. Not a great result. They drew with Inter at home, which, like I said, Inter are not very good away from home. They got beaten by LAFC, not too bad. And then they drew against Austin, and then got beaten by Vancouver. So that's kind of when they're starting to fall back down that leaderboard, and they're coming up against the New York City team who won their last time 4-2, which was actually a pretty good game against New England. I actually do believe I did watch that. Castellanos, well, it was a very weird game. The two teams defending was pretty awful, to be fair. But anyway, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to New York City against Dallas. I think Dallas has probably hit their wall. This is probably where the time you would see them kind of lose a couple of points in these kind of type of games. So I'm going to go for, I guess, like a 3-1 win in this one. And obviously the last one is LA Galaxy, who are playing San Jose Earthquakes in a Cali kind of Classico. So this is LA Galaxy playing another rival, MLS kind of made rival, but still, it is a rivalry, all another little less. Jesus Christ, Sean. San Jose Earthquakes beat Chicago Fire, which is a good result for them, but then they drew against Toronto, got beaten by Real Salt Lake. They didn't do too bad against LAFC, so coming up against an LA Galaxy team in LA. I know I did predict San Jose Earthquakes to win their last game. They drew, which wasn't a bad result, but I do think they're probably going to get beat 1-0 by LA Galaxy. I think LA Galaxy are a far better team. They're a far better team. Probably not by a bigger margin than you suspect, but they're still a better team. So, yep, those were my predictions. To who are ever watching, what do you think? So there's my predictions. What would you change? What would you predict to be any different? I think the DC United Columbus Crew team game would probably be a bit of a stranger one. Again, Dallas could surprise New York City FC. This is MLS, so anything's basically possible, which is really, really, really annoying most of the time. So DC United against Columbus Crew again. DC United with their new manager Wayne Rooney could probably get a wee bit of something out of them at the moment, but I think Columbus Crew are a bit in a better stage than them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my predictions. You'll see this up on YouTube, and I've been on for 17 minutes, and I always keep saying to myself I'm going to try to do ones less than this, and there was only 11 games this week, and I've messed that up already. So thank you very much for joining me if you watched this, and I hope to see you on the next one. So good luck